Ever feel like you just need to escape from reality for a bit?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes you just need a good show to get lost in.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Well, today we're diving into a show that takes you behind the scenes of one of the most famous families in the world.
And it's a show that makes history feel surprisingly relatable.
Exactly. This season is a must-watch for anyone who loves royal intrigue. It takes us all the way back to the start of Queen Elizabeth's reign.
Starting with her marriage to Prince Philip and culminating in her coronation.
It's 1947, and Princess Elizabeth is getting married to Prince Philip.
Yeah.
But behind the fairy tale wedding,
There are hints of the challenges that lie ahead for the young couple.
I mean, becoming queen is a huge change.
And it's a really tough transition for Philip. He's not used to being in a position where he doesn't have all the power.
Yeah, imagine being married to the queen, but you're not actually the head of the household.
Exactly. And that creates tension right from the start. We see Philip struggling with the limits of his role.
Like the whole surname issue.
Oh, yeah. He was furious that his kids wouldn't have his last name, Mountbatten.
He even said he was the only man in the country who couldn't give his name to his own children.
It really seemed to get to him.
Yeah.
And, that whole thing wasn't just a personal issue. There were political reasons for keeping the name Windsor.
Right. It was about distancing the royal family from Philip's German heritage, especially after World War II.
So he's dealing with the fact that he's second to his wife, and then there's his family's past hanging over him.
That's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
And on top of all that, they have to move out of their home and into Buckingham Palace.
A place that Philip felt was suffocating, filled with his wife's family and the ghosts of her ancestors.
And he had to give up his naval career.
Yeah, which he loved. It's like everything was stripped away from him, his name, his home, his career.
No wonder he felt lost. It wasn't just Philip who was struggling. Elizabeth was on her own journey, trying to figure out who she was as queen.
She realized that her education hadn't really prepared her to be the monarch,
But she hired a private tutor,
to help her understand things like the Constitution.
the very document that defines her powers as queen.
She really wanted to master her role, not just inherit it.
And that decision gave her the confidence to challenge people who underestimated her.
Like when she confronts Winston Churchill about his health.
It's a powerful scene. She calls him out for keeping his stroke secret.
And she backs it up with her knowledge of the Constitution. She's not just a figurehead.
It's like she finally steps into her power.
Yeah, she shows that she understands her role, and she's not afraid to use it.
Churchill was a powerful figure, but even he had to respect her.
Their relationship is so interesting. They clash, they compromise, and ultimately they form a bond.
A bond based on respect and a shared sense of duty.
But the drama isn't just in the political realm. The show also explores the royal family's personal lives, like Elizabeth's relationship with her sister Margaret.
Talk about two different personalities.
Right. Elizabeth is all about duty and responsibility.
While Margaret is more rebellious and wants to have fun.
And that contrast really highlights the struggle between duty and desire that runs through the whole season.
Especially when Margaret falls for Peter Townsend.
A divorced man who works for the royal household.
And that throws the whole family into turmoil.
I mean, divorce was still a huge taboo in the 1950s.
Especially for someone so close to the throne.
This wasn't just about personal choices. It caused a real constitutional crisis for the monarchy. It brought back memories of Edward VIII.
Elizabeth's uncle, who gave up the throne to marry a divorced woman.
Exactly, and that decision had huge consequences. It changed the course of history.
Her father became king because of it.
So Elizabeth knows firsthand how fragile the monarchy can be.
And public opinion matters. And then there's the Church of England.
The monarch is the head of the church.
And the church strictly forbids divorce.
So if Margaret married Peter, it would cause a major conflict between the crown and the church.
It could undermine the whole monarchy.
It put Elizabeth in a really difficult position.
She wanted her sister to be happy, but as queen, her duty was to protect the monarchy.
It's a classic conflict between personal feelings and duty.
And in the end, duty won.
Margaret was heartbroken.
She felt trapped by the institution she was born into.
It shows that even royalty can face limitations when it comes to love.
But love isn't just about romance in this season. We also see the love between Elizabeth and Philip.
A love that's constantly tested by their roles.
There's that scene where Philip's about to go on a royal tour.
And he asks Elizabeth if she'll miss him.
And she says, "The crown will miss you."
It shows how their personal relationship always comes second to the monarchy.
It makes you wonder if a real marriage can survive under that kind of pressure.
And then there's the love between the sisters.
A bond that's strong but also fragile.
They support each other, confide in each other, but there's also a sense of rivalry.
Especially when Margaret fills in for Elizabeth while she's away.
And she does a great job.
She's charming the public, fulfilling her duties. It seems effortless for her.
It makes Elizabeth question herself.
She comes home, and it's like her sister has outshone her.
Even a queen can feel insecure.
It's a reminder that she's human after all.
And that vulnerability makes her character even more interesting.
It's like we see behind the mask of royalty.
And then there's the whole thing with the tutor.
It shows Elizabeth's desire to learn and grow.
She knows she wasn't fully prepared to be queen, so she takes steps to improve herself.
It's inspiring to see someone in her position willing to admit they need help.
And her tutor doesn't just teach her facts, he empowers her.
He encourages her to think for herself, to use her knowledge.
That moment when he tells her she knows more about being queen than anyone else is so powerful.
It's like a turning point for her.
She realizes that knowledge is her strength.
And she uses that knowledge to confront Churchill and to handle the London smog crisis.
Which was a terrible disaster.
Thousands of people died.
The show really captures the fear and uncertainty of that time.
And Elizabeth steps up. She demands action from the government. She shows real concern for her people.
She's not the same unsure queen from the beginning.
She's grown into a true leader. She's become a strong and compassionate leader.
And you see how she balances her personal life with the demands of being queen.
It's like a constant struggle between being human and fulfilling her duty.
Yeah, the show doesn't shy away from her struggles, her anxieties. You see those moments of doubt.
Like when she sees Margaret doing so well while she's away.
It makes you think about the sacrifices involved in public service.
What does it mean to put duty above your own happiness?
Is it even possible to live that way, even for someone as dedicated as Elizabeth?
This season really makes you think about those questions.
It doesn't give you easy answers.
It just shows you the complexities and the cost of duty.
And it makes you think about your own beliefs about leadership and responsibility.
What would you do in those situations?
It also raises questions about the monarchy in the modern world.
Is it outdated? Or does it still have a place today?
The show doesn't tell you what to think.
But it shows you both sides, the glamour and the sacrifices.
And through it all, Elizabeth is such a fascinating character.
You don't always agree with her, but you can't help but be intrigued by her.
She goes from this young woman thrown into a huge role
To a powerful monarch who knows how to handle things.
Her story is both inspiring and a warning,
It shows that leadership comes at a price.
even for those born into privilege.
If you want a show that's entertaining and makes you think this is it,
It reminds you that history is made up of both big events and personal moments.
and that the choices we make shape our lives
It's a great example of how stories can transport you to another time
and make you feel connected to the characters.
and leave you thinking about life's big questions.
If you want more conversations about your favorite TV shows, subscribe to our channel.
We'll be back with more soon.